Now the autumn internationals are over, Andy Farrell is full-time as British and Irish Lions head coach, and I think it's a good time to talk about what sort of team could he pick, should he pick, coaching-wise. So let's get straight into some of these options, and I'd love you guys to tell me who I'm missing, who should go. Let's talk about forwards coaches. Now, of course, with roles, they can share roles out, they can change titles, but I'll put all my candidates on the graphic on the side. Let's talk about them. Graham Rowntree. All the pieces of the puzzle seem to fit here. He's very experienced now as a forwards coach, as a head coach. Obviously, previous Lions coaching experience really helps. Very experienced in the scrum if they want to put him there. And also he'll add that gravitas to the coaching team as he's so experienced, a former Lion player. Graham Rowntree's worked with Andy Farrell before. They know they can work well together. He's currently out of a job, so short-term wise it could suit him very well. That financial boost of a very lucrative short-term Lions contract, that would be pretty good. Plus, you don't have to pay compensation to a current employer, which is another big expense for the Lions. I mean, it costs so much to put this tour on, paying the coaches, compensating the unions. Rowntree also has a good knowledge of URC players involved. I think I'd be pretty amazed if he wasn't involved in some respect as the forwards coach or a scrum coach. It just seems a good fit. Let's talk about Paul O'Connell, an absolute legend, obviously Irish-wise and for the Lions as a player. And a forwards coach, he'd be a good fit if the budget allowed, alongside Rowntree. Maybe have a specialist line-out coach in O'Connell, the scrum coach in Rowntree, that could work. Obviously, Ireland are losing Farrell. Would they want to lose any more coaches? That would be tricky, but Farrell would like coaches he knows very well, especially because there's going to be lots of Irish on the tour, you would think. And maybe a bit of a wild card is Steve Borthwick. He's an excellent technical forwards coach, particularly in the line-out. He's been a Lions coach before under Gatland, and many think he would be more suited to an assistant coach role. No, I don't think he'll want to abandon England, though, at this point. I don't think there are a few will let him go, but I think, he is an option. Maybe he would be approached, I don't know. But hypothetically, could be a good call. You've got the highly experienced Robin McBride. He's been a Lions coach before. He's now with Leinster, so he knows the Irish players a bit better. He knows the Welsh players fairly well, so he'd be a very solid pick. And there's some other guys there you could talk about, but let me know who you think I might have missed. I don't want to talk about everyone, but they're the ones that spring to mind for me. And from time to time in these videos, I will mention my deal I've got going with Manual Men's Health. I wanted to get a testosterone testing kit because they had a 38% off introductory offer for new customers, and they said why not have a bit more, have 45%. So that's the code up there, or if you click the link in the description it goes straight to the 45%. If you want to get a testosterone testing kit, that's a mouthful to say because around this time of year we tend to think of our health, don't we? Let's talk about the attack. Like I said, you can change these job titles, but let's label it attack. I think Mike Catt has to be a strong contender. Lots of experience as an attack coach. Italy, England, Ireland. He's got lots of international experience. And you've got to say the Irish attack has been a thing of beauty. Of course, he hasn't been a Lions coach before, but you want to bring a few new coaches into the fold and bring that continuity as well. So that could be good balance. And logistically, it just seems to work. He's with the Waratahs, but even if they make the Super Rugby final, which they probably won't, to be fair, it still could finish in time for him to go on the tour. And of course, going on the tour means just going to Australia where he is already. So it could work really, really well. Then we've got Gregor Townsend. He could build on his 2021 attack coach role with some more continuity. That would be good. Plus, of course, I think there's going to be a lot of Scots on this tour, more than 2021, and his backline could be stuffed with them as well. Finn Russell as the main man, so that seems to fit very nicely indeed. Maybe he'd be quite an expensive option compensating Scotland, but I think if Farrell wanted him, I think he'd probably get him, and I think that Townsend would like to go again. Attack coach wise, I don't really see Wigglesworth of England being in the picture there because we haven't seen England's attack really firing yet. But a guy from outside the international picture is Ronan O'Gara. Now, he's made no disguise. He's highly ambitious as a coach. He's building that strong CV already, and surely his ultimate aim is to coach Ireland at some point, and he probably will, knowing him. He's expressed interest already going on the tour, so maybe that would be as an attack role, maybe a kicking role. I don't know what his remit would be. They'd obviously have to pay a decent whack to La Rochelle to get him, because I'm sure those French clubs don't want to let go of their coaches, especially their head coaches. And another guy I really like is Alex King of Wales. Of course, Wales are struggling and we haven't been able to see fully what the Welsh attack are trying to do, but I think he's got great ideas and he could be a bit of an outside shot for sure. If we're looking under the general title of defence, then Simon Easterby, would have been a good pick, but of course he's already been named as the interim head coach for Ireland, so he's out. Then there's Steve Tandy. He seems to make a fair bit of sense. The Scotland defence, I think, has been really good. 2021, of course, he went on the tour as well, so there's experience there. Another name that springs to mind is Kevin Sinfield of England. Now, he's not the main defence coach, that's Joe Alab, so England could probably spare him. It's probably more, could Kevin Sinfield spare the time? He's got a lot of charity work, plus he hasn't got a huge CV in the international game, so maybe he wouldn't be the first choice, but he could work. Then there's a few other guys as well. Felix Jones recently departed from England, kind of. We say departed. He's supposedly working remotely, which is a load of rubbish. I mean, they didn't even see to consult him when England played South Africa about the South African players. So really, he's basically not working. So maybe the Lions could kind of buy out that contract from England. It could work both ways quite nicely. You've got a good defensive coach who's not really needed by England. So yeah, that could work. The name Sean Edwards will always come up. He would be amazing. Of course, he's been a Lions coach before. It would be great, but could you get him off France? I don't know. I don't know if France would want to release him for the Lions, but they could try. Then another left field shout might be Jacques Nienaber. Of course, he's not a coach from one of the four nations, but he's got an amazing CV of international experience. Now he's working for Leinster. He knows some of the Irish players, so he could work quite well. And if people can look past the fact that he's South African, which I think in the modern era you absolutely can, he could be a really interesting pick and work very well. Then, of course, you've got some other roles. You've got kicking, you've got fitness, which you tend to call athletic performance or strength and conditioning. Kicking wise, well, I've heard Johnny Wilkinson's name being thrown about, and that'd be pretty cool for the the World Cup winner, the former Lion, to go on that tour, but he doesn't have a massive amount of international coaching. Yes, he comes and helps out England sometimes, but it could be a really interesting one. I'm sure he'd love to go if asked. Of course, Neil Jenkins is in the frame. It would make 5 tours for him, which would be unbelievable for the Welsh kicking guru. So having that past experience would really help. You wouldn't have to worry about him at all. Athletic performance-wise, well, the name that springs to mind for me is Paul Strigen. He recently stepped down after 8 years with Wales. And more relevantly, he's had 4 Lions tours and he's always popular with the players. I assume he's free and he could go on one more. That would be pretty cool. So to finish up, this is my preferred lineup, or most logical lineup for the coaching team at the moment. But let me know if I've got anything wrong here. Andy Farrell, obviously the head coach. 2 forwards coaches, Rowntree, O'Connell, with Rowntree taking charge of the scrum, O'Connell the line-out. Townsend, the attack coach again, Tandy, the defence coach again, Jenkins, the kicking coach again, and the very experienced Paul Strigen, the strength and conditioning coach again. So very, very experienced. You've got Paul O'Connell there as a newbie, if you like. It'd be great to get him into the fold. I think they could do very well together, but there's lots of other great choices. Love to know what you think. Do like, do subscribe if you're into these sorts of videos, and I'll catch you next time.